Alright. Can you guys hear me now? Check, 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 check. Audio's working. Looks like we're getting a couple of drop frames, but let's try this again. Alright. Can you guys hear me okay? Alright. Let's see if we can let's see if we can save this. Alright. Um yeah. And the perils of doing stuff live. Oh, it's awesome. Technical difficulties. I know, for now, right? Imagine. Oh, Jeebus. All right, let's try this again. So it looks like I'm getting okay, 30 frames a second, but it's dropping a couple of frames. So um, we'll see. What's up, Tori? All right, cool. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I have to do some testing on my own channel here after this stream. So weird. You know, like your computer, like it's the same hardware pieces, it's the same everything. It just some days it just doesn't want to do anything. It's awesome, isn't it? All right, so let's do edge loop. Do panel loops. So take this down to 0 polish. We'll take this down to 1 loop. Regroup loops. I don't really want a bevel on it at all. Maybe a small little bevel, and then we'll do elevation at negative 100. Turn my thickness down, and we'll just try panel loops. That's way too small. So bring that back up. Oh, it was Java's fault. Just kidding, I have no idea why. I guess that's thick enough. Maybe just a little bit thicker. There you go. That's good enough. Alright, then let's do group by normals. That looks pretty good. And then we'll just do a quick polish on that. Polish by groups. Polish by groups. So the idea behind polish by groups is that, right, it basically will polish by groups. So if your sides are different polygroups, then it'll make sure to keep those lines nice and crisp for you. Yeah, cool. There, got a piece, and it's relatively it's in the right place, and it's following this nice same curvature, right? So that's one of the main reasons why I start from extract, so that it will continue that curvature, which is nice. Nice. All right, now I could just put this into place like this. Move that around, and then I can take this whole piece, maybe mask this part. Oops. Let's do lasso. And then we'll just pull that down. Why do I polish by normals? Let's go back, actually. I'll show you. Okay, so this is before I did polish, right? So you see like how kind of like bumpy and wavy it is. So the important thing is that you have different poly groups on each side, basically, right? And it will keep your creases basically where you have different poly groups. So if you do polish by groups, right, it'll nice and clean that surface up. It'll clean this surface, all these different surfaces up, right? So if you do polish by groups, right, it just evens out all the normals in between. Right, here's before, here's after. Alright, so it just tries to even it out based on what polygroups you have. So it makes it just nice and clean. Alright, and then now I can come in here and move this stuff around. Stream's still doing okay. Holding for the moment. Not anymore since I jinxed it. Alright. So if you hold down spacebar when you're moving this around, you can actually move your mask. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Yep, good to go. Okay, cool. Thanks, Thomas. Okay, and I'm just gonna bring my guess. Yeah. Oh, I gotta bring up my reference. Hold on. So I use Quadro for my reference. It's super awesome. You guys should check it out. Mike Pavlovich uses it all the time too. That makes me cool like him. Just kidding. Alright, so it looks like this is actually a lot thinner than what this is. Alright, so we're going to take this. Another reason why I wanted to do this as low res is so that I can incorporate my Z modeler brush into it. So let's just take this back like this. Take this back like this. Alright, and then we're actually going to bring the whole thing in. So I'm going to use my transpose tool. And then I'm just going to use move. So move will do that if you grab the outside one. And then the inside will actually move it. So you can use the move transpose line as a way to shift your shape. Okay, that's better. Alright, now what I'm going to do is it's missing like this little corner piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just really quickly delete all that again, and then I'm just going to use my slice curve just to do that. Delete that. Done. Once you get this process down, it's actually really quick. So I'm going to go back to, I could just do pan loops from here, I think. Right? And my pan loops are the same. I haven't changed it. So it's exactly the same thickness, and then I go back to group by normals, right? And then what we can do is I could change this to, let's say, less than 45 degrees. Do group by normals again, because this was less than a 45 degree. Cool, looks good, looks good, looks good. Alright, and then maybe do one more polish. There we go. Done. Oh, ZBrush, I love you. So the only problem becomes if, with this kind of weirdness down here, if I do like actually divide, then it starts getting a little bit weird. So you may want to, if you're going to divide, you may want to do a re-topologize or a z-remesh before you do that. But if I do dynamic subdiv, it should be okay. Right? I don't know. Let's take a look. So let's go to my geometry. Let's go to dynamic subdiv. Let's turn flat subdiv on. Maybe throw this up to 3. Yeah, that looks okay. I'm alright with that. And then you can do, if you want to apply that, you can just hit apply. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's duplicate it. Let's go to the new one, right, with no history. Turn the old one off if I ever need to go back. And then from geometry, we can just do apply. And then now you have your nice piece here with all your subdivs. Right? Easy peasy. Okay, so we got that, and then I think we just go in and start sculpting on this guy. Layer systems. I don't know if you guys use layers or not, but we'll start using layers on this just to show you guys. So basically what I can do is, let's create a new layer. A couple things you could do. Actually, you know what? Let's not do layers. Let's do morph target. Excuse me. So sometimes depends. Like morph targets can be similar to layers, but just basically one layer. The big difference is that a layer you can change the opacity on or turn on or off, but a morph target you can actually brush parts in and brush parts back out. Right? All right. So let's do this. So we'll take store morph target, and that can be found, I believe, under geometry. Oh geez, where the hell was morph target? No, it's under morph target right here. So I just grabbed these 4 buttons. Alright, that's what these 4 are right here. So, morph target, and then I can go in and let's just do some sculpting on this. Alright, let's just beat up the edges real quick. Let's change this back to that. Before I do that, I want to make sure my back face mask is on. Let's just make these edges a little bit. Alright, smooth it out a little bit. Just add a little bit of variation to it. Go for layers, please. Alright, I'll do layers next. Alright, so we add just a little bit of variation here. Alright, let's turn off back face mask because it's giving us this weird line out here. So maybe what I do is just come in, maybe I'll use a dynamics, trim dynamic, and I can pull some of these corners back in, right? Just kind of like add in some irregularity and some breakout to this. Not too much, because I don't want it to look like stone or whatever, right? Just go back through. So I'm just breaking that up just a little bit. Something like that. Alright, so let's say yeah. So let's say I do some, right, something like this, like, oh, you know, like, ah, man, I really don't want that thing, right? So they actually has a morph brush. So if I go to B, M for morph, there, and then O is the morph brush. Basically, what this does is it paints all of your vertexes back to its original location where you stored this morph target. Right, so I can actually paint back out some of these pieces if I want. Right, like, oh, I don't really don't like that. Right, so it actually goes back to where, so it remembers where all those vertexes were in space. Basically, is what it says. Right, so I can, it's really cool. So you can use it to like pull in and pull out different different changes that you make. Right, so the big difference then becomes if you do a layer instead. Right, so you can do both morph target and layers, I believe. I think, yeah. So let's say this is going to be wrinkles, right? So then I can actually come in. So maybe I want something super strong. Right, so maybe I like do something super crazy. Right? So you can actually, you can turn that on or off. like that, or you can pull it back, right, by changing the opacity of what that is. Which is pretty cool. It can get a little bit tricky if you're using a lot of layers and like sculpting over layers or what have you. So I tend to just I think for me layers can be a little bit of an overkill for me. It's like having too many undos, right? It's tough to commit. So for me, I usually will just do a morph target because it's similar to just having one layer, but you can paint that layer in or out in different locations. Did it just freeze again? Can you guys still hear me okay? I think you guys can still hear me okay, right? Use layers for poly painting. Can you guys still hear me? Yes, you can? Okay. Maybe it's just my web page. Yep, no problem. Okay, cool. Use layers for poly painting. So, from what I have experienced, and I'm sure Paul and Joseph will tell you otherwise, because I'm not the expert they are, that if you're going to be using layers, do one or the other. It's really more stable when you're sculpting than it is when you're doing poly paint. But if you're going to do, I would say do poly paint on one set of layers and then don't do any sculpting if you're going to do that. I wouldn't mix the two in one subtool. It tends to get really weird. Yeah, it's a little bit. I'm still 30 frames a second on this side, so I apologize for the technical hiccups this morning. Anyhow, is the layer for the selected subtool, or how does that work? Yes. So the layer will exist on that particular subtool, and it will live on that subtool. So like if I go to this guy, right, and I create a layer, if I go back over to this guy, he doesn't have layers. So it's all based on your subtool. All based on your subtool. Okay. Let's continue rolling here. So let's start doing a little bit more detail on these guys. Got no lag. Okay, cool. Man. Yeah. No problem. Not a problem. All right. So I'd say let's increase my density here. I'm going to keep just going with Dynamesh on this guy. 128, probably let's go 256, see what that looks like. That's probably a little bit better. Okay, so let's throw, so every time I go up in Dynamesh, for the most part I try to keep to double the resolution, so like 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048. I don't know, I just got into a habit of keeping those numbers, but you can do pretty much whatever you want. So when I do go up in Dynamesh, I always try to throw a clay polish real quick, just to kind of get rid of this type of artifacting that you see if I'm using Dynamesh. But then I make sure I clear my mask, so it leaves a weird mask whenever you do Dynamesh. Here, I'll show you why. Like, right, so you see some weird stuff happening. So what it does is it actually will throw a mask, creates a little mask over your edges when you do clay polish. So even though it doesn't show that you have a mask, I always clear whatever's there. It's a little weird. Okay, so let's start cleaning up these edges here. I think I actually may need to go up one more, but we'll see. We'll see. So this is the edge of the glove. Alright, and the edge of the glove is I end up going to be ooh, wait a minute. Alright, so I don't want to do Dynamesh yet, because it's connected. Do I want to connect it? Do I want to leave it connected? I think I actually do want to leave it connected. So that's okay. This is okay. Connected is okay. It's never going to come apart, so I don't mind that it's connected. Probably what I'll do is I'll actually move this piece up so that it stays connected consistently across the board here. Yeah. How do you get those smooth edges for the glove? When I inflate using deformation, it won't get like this. Which smooth edges are you talking about? Like this smooth edge? Talking about the bottom smooth edge? Or are you talking about these smooth edges? Eruzi. Oh wait, just for a second for you to answer that. Yes. So on this little piece, this one is low res, right? So it actually has dynamic subdiv on it, so it's fairly low, and then I just go in and turn on dynamic subdivision. Oh, at the bottom. Okay. So what I did to create these smooth edges, right? You see the thickness is not consistent. I have to work on that. But basically what I can do is, right, so let's say, you know, it's got like these little, you know, oh, like I made this thing and it's, you know, it's cool, but, you know, it's got like this irregularity happening. So what I can do is, let's turn perspective off for a second so I get a nice clean line here. And then what I can do is I can go in and use the actual clip curve or clip rectangle. So what clip does is it flattens all the geo to wherever you select, right? So like if I go like this, it's going to flatten all those, right? All that geo to where I ended my clip mask. Right? So if I'm looking for like really like for that, I can just go in with my clip brush just above that, and then boom, it just forces all those polys up into that right there. And then I can just come in and just smooth that out a little bit. So the clip brush will help you when you do that. Okay, so let's put this back up to, what did they say, 512, I think, is what we ended up as. Mm, 256, I think it was, but 512 is fine. We'll work with that. Oops. Okay, so then, so again, right, I want to clean up all these edges, right, and I've got plenty of geo there, so then I'll just go in and do a quick clay polish. I just leave all of this at default. Do a quick clay polish. Usually we'll clean up most of it, but I may have to go back depending on how high your resolution is. Right, so that's before clay polish. This is after clay polish. So then clear the mask that's there, and then maybe I'll just go in with just a quick smooth through here. I'm not too worried about smoothing over the edges because I kind of want to soften those anyways, and it has enough geo that it will hold a relatively crisp edge. Right, so just go in, clean this up a little bit. And then if I really want to, I can come in here and just do maybe like a trim dynamic and just really gently come through and flatten out this edge if I need to. Or I can use H polish, and you can do that as well too. And then smooth it back out. Right, so you get kind of a little bit more of that crisp edge again. Yo, boyfriend, how you doing, man? Hey, buddy. And that's probably what I would do here on this one as well, because I need to clean up that edge. So I definitely wouldn't use the clip on this one. But what method do you reckon is the fastest way to make low polys? For this one, I would redo this by hand. I would take it into Moto, and especially if it's going to be low res, I would want very, very tight control of where my edge flows were. So I would retopo this by hand in Moto. You know what we can actually do too? Watch this. So this one is 98,000. Creating a full human body. Do you use the Lightbox human tools or start from scratch? I usually will. Actually, you know what? This brings up a good point. Actually brings up a really good point. So when I'm learning, I will go and make sure that I can create all of my anatomy, right? Anatomy, as much as anatomy as you can. Make sure that you know how to do that, but once you know how to do that and have done it a bunch of times, why start from there every single time? So what I would, there's two things I would do. One is create my own base mesh, and then just use that every time and start from that when creating a human or when creating a monster or whatever it is. So I would do that, or badking.au is a really good resource for monster stuff and anything ZBrush really. They've got this really nice. I can actually show you. Let's go into brush. There's a really nice creature set that I tend to use a lot. Monster parts, right? So they have basically insert mesh brushes that have different pieces, right? So if you want to look at feet or hands or heads or mouths or torsos or horns, yeah, it's badking.au. I think it's .au. So it's www.badking.au, I think is what it is. No, hold on. Is it .au.com? It's badking.com.au. That's what it is. So yeah, it's www.badking.com.au. Try that one. Yep, that's the one. Yeah, so I use their monster parts a lot when I'm doing creatures, right? So just give you a bunch of different things to start from, right? You just be like, oh, I can't do it with subdivision parts. Got it. Okay, got it. Alright, oh, right, so I can start from there. That kind of thing. So a lot of times when I'm doing creatures, I'll start from base meshes like that. So it's a really good resource to start from. Yeah, so check out Bad King. They've been around for a long time, actually. Really awesome site over there. A lot of good free resources as well. I always try to give them props whenever I can. They help me out on a lot of my base mesh stuff. Okay, Under Armour. That's what I was going to do. So let's take this dude. Let's duplicate him one more time. Alright, create the new one. He's under dynamic subdiv at the moment. No, he's not. He is not. Good. Excellent. He is at 94,000, so I'm going to divide him maybe 1 or 2 more times. Basically, I want to have, actually that's okay. So I'm just going to create the Under Armour piece real quick. I think I'm just going to do it by hand. So I'm just going to draw out, doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, you can go get the logo and then use that as an alpha if you want. But in this case, I'm just going to hint at it. It's fine. Right. I'll go probably, if I was going to do this for real, I'd just go get the alpha. But in this case, I don't really care too much. Just give you the idea of a way that you could do it. Texturing where would be the question. Alright, so maybe do something like that. And then what I can do is flip the mask and then go down to deformation and maybe just do a quick inflate on it. Alright, I don't want to get rid of the mask yet, but I'll just hit view mask. Alright, so you can do something like that. Substance or Quixel. For Substance, I would just say go to their YouTube page. Algorithmic has awesome training for Substance Painter as Substance Designer. Really, really awesome stuff. Actually, you know what? Probably what I would do instead of doing that, what I would do is probably put this on a layer. Right, so I would say this is Under Armour. And then now I can go back to deformation and do an inflate. Not clear the mask, let's undo that. Right, so then if I want to, I can always go back and just turn that on and off. Right, that may be a good reason for using layers. Okay. Alright. Where are we? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and work. Let's work on this piece. So what I want to do is I want to focus on what these edges are going to be doing. Shape I think is okay for right now. But those edges I need to work on. So what I'm going to do is, I don't think it has quite enough yet. I think I can take this up to 512 at least. Yeah, that'll work. So let's do just a quick clay polish on it again. Clear my mask. Alright, so what I want to do basically is I want to pull up these edges, right? So we're looking at like these edges here, right? and you've got this like really crisp edge here, which is just on the outside of the stitch mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, alright, and then, you know what, let's use layers on this guy. Let's just use layers. So this one will be stitch valleys. Right, basically it's going to be these. So what I'm going to do is just going to come in do that, right? That's where the stitch valley is going to live. Right, so I got, I'm going to use a little bit more of my lazy mouse radius. Alright, so I've got another one that comes, I'm going to change this to sub for a second. So I've got another one that comes like this. Okay, another one that comes like this. Another one that comes like that. Alright, and then I'm going to have another one that comes down here. Let's just do one more across these pieces as well. I think that was at 45. So when I'm doing consistent pieces like this, I always want to remember what draw size that I use, so I can keep that consistent across the board, right? So I'll usually just maybe make a note of it, right? So if I come back, if I change my draw size, I can always get back to it just by remembering what that was. Because I may come back, you know, in a couple hours or an hour or so and do the same thing here, and I want to remember and want to keep those consistent, right? And again, you don't have to, you can vary the depth, I guess you can say. Just to give it a little bit more of that organic feel. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll create another for the edges. We still doing okay? Stream still doing alright? Let's save this real quick. Yeah, still good. Okay, cool. Saving, saving. Okay. So on edges, maybe I'll take my damn standard. Oh, good. Okay, cool. And then I'll use it as negative and just pull out these edges like this. And then, so sometimes I'll use lazy mouse. Yo, Polygon artist, what's up, man? Brendon could be searching doing those lines with a small lazy mouse radius. Right? So it was interesting because I was just going to touch on that, right? So I'll use a larger lazy radius when I'm trying to do something more, let's say, like technology based, I guess, but something that's more organic. I'll purposefully leave my lazy radius down so that my natural movement in my hand lends itself better to the organic side, right? Does that make sense? Yo, Ashley, hey, what's up, girl? What up, girl? Right? So this will help in the overall organic side of this, right? So it's not all like machine lines and stuff. So I will purposefully not use Lazy Mouse in some areas just to add a little bit more of that organicness to it. On to details, yep. What advice would you have for graduates wanting to do ZBrush modeling in video games? Um, I would say the first thing I always say is figure out where and what kind of work you want to do in a video game industry. Do you want to be a character artist? Do you want to be an environment artist? Do you want to be special effects? Do you want to be um, an animator? Do you want to be props, vehicles, weapons? Do you want to specialize in hard surface? Um, that probably the most important thing out of the gate. Once you decide on what you want to do there, then what I would do is, honestly, I would find people that are already working or doing that type of work, and study their work, right? And if they stream, watch their streams. If they have tutorials, watch their tutorials. Get an idea of their workflows, because those are the probably one of the most amazing shortcuts that you will ever get. Is to find people that are already doing it and see how they're doing it, and then build on your knowledge from there. And then I would say spend as much time in Z Classroom. Pixelogic's amazing training website. All right, now this is all ready for stitches, right? So we've got a nice clean like edges and some valleys for our stitches. Right, Rodiska? Hmm. Which reminds me for announcements and stuff. So don't forget to follow me on my channel. Don't forget to follow Pixelogic here. Got some absolutely amazing artists. A Cubed is Ashley. She does some awesome ZBrush work here on ZBrush as well. So make sure to follow her. Also, if you are new to ZBrush and you're considering purchasing or using, there is a free tutorial button down somewhere around this area. So definitely feel free to do that. And keep track of the schedule of streamers here. We got absolutely amazing, crazy, awesome streamers. So do that. Do it. Do it. Alright, so things that you want to be really careful of when you start doing layers is that once you create layers, you have to sculpt on a layer. You can't just sculpt off of a layer, right? So anything that you do to this thing now will need to be on a layer. Right? So let's say if I want to change these stitch valleys, I don't want to change that when I'm doing it in edges, right? I want to make sure that I go back to stitch valleys. Maybe I'll actually move this down a little bit. And I'll add a little bit of breakup by smoothing these out, maybe, in some places. Right? Make it a little bit more natural looking. Alright, and then maybe what I'll do is on stitch valleys, I'll come in and create a little bit of, let's turn this back to there. Right, maybe a little bit of bulging through here just to break up some of that. So when you start using layers, you kind of are stuck with them until you decide to bake them all down. So you just got to be ready for them, if that makes sense. So here's the thing, right? So I want to use an insert mesh brush on this now because I'm going to go through and draw my stitches on here. But you cannot use an insert mesh brush on something with layers. So how do you get around that? Question. How do you get around that? Thanks. I really do want to do character creature modeling, but I'm fairly new to it as I'm on animation course. Be sure to check out everything you said though. Yeah, I would definitely would look at so characters, right? So then what kind of character artist do you want to be? Do you like stylized stuff? Do you like realistic stuff? Do you like a hybrid of stylized realistic? What kind of creatures do you like? Do you like cute creatures? Do you like crazy mangly creatures? Because there's definitely different paths when you come to character as well, right? So you like the big picture, like character. Okay, cool. What kind of character artist do you want to be? Do you want to be realistic or stylized? Usually, right now, they don't cross over a whole lot. If you're a stylized character artist, you mostly just do stylized. If you're a realistic style, then you mostly do realistic stuff. Mostly. There's always room for movement in there. But yeah. I would check out artists that you like their work. Spend a lot of time on ArtStation, follow some dudes there, and then friend them on Facebook. What the hell, and then watch what they do, watch what they post, watch how they work, that kind of stuff, and then learn ZBrush with those methods in mind. It's probably the best way. Okay, back to the question. How do you use an insert mesh brush on a piece that has layers where you can't use an insert mesh brush? Good question, Brendon. Good question. How do you do that? For me, my answer is I just switched to a different subtool, and then I can still draw over this piece. Oh, I see what you did there. Oh, I see what you did. All right, so I'm gonna go get my stitch brush, and I actually use. Which ones do I use? Clothing. I think I'm gonna use this guy, and I don't remember where I got the Stitch 3D brush. I think I may have got it from Bad King. May have, but now what I can do is I can just go and do that, right? Oh, yeah. Finally got Marvelous Designer. Oh, Radeska. Yes! Marvelous Designer, man. Oh. Shane, what's up, buddy? Ha ha ha. By the way, Shane just came on board streaming as well, too. He's a really awesome stylized character artist. So definitely give him a check out. Oops. Okay. So yes, you can duplicate it and then delete it. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. But usually what I'll do is I'll just draw it right over a different subtool, and then alright, so let's say I'm like, okay, right? And then what I'll do is I'll just split that off. Right? Split hidden. Right? And then now I got it. Done. Recommend any free brush shadows. Only got the standard ZBrush brushes. The other one is XMD. Michael Dunham. Check him out. He's got really awesome brushes as well too. Michael Dunham. Dunham. Anyways, yeah. So that's what I would do. So let's actually grab this one. Let's delete this guy. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so I'm going to go back to this guy. Actually, you know what? Yeah, probably what I would do is I grab something completely away from it, so that it doesn't get kind of weird. Yeah, I did the lifetime membership on him, and it's awesome. He just released the toolbox, I think is what he called. Really cool add-on for keeping track of your brushes and stuff. Alright, so I'm gonna do it from this side here. And then I'm gonna move these around so I'm not too worried about getting it exact. Yeah, XMD toolbox. Yep. Awesome stuff. You know, probably what I would do is I would do this in straight pieces. So I'd do this one first. And then just end it here. And then do another one here, another one here. Because then I can do them separately, right? Oh yeah, Shane's got a bunch of free brushes too. Shane's got awesome brushes. Shane, feel free to throw your link into chat, man. Gotta spread that love. Spreading the love. Okay, so then I'm just going to click, alt-click off of that, and then it will get rid of the curve, right? So now basically what I want to do is I want to come back in here, and then I want to split this off. We'll do split hidden. Go back to this guy, and then now what I can do is, yep, Shane's got a lot of awesome stuff coming up. Go to regular move, not move topological, because I want to move all these at the same time. Right, I'll just go up here, and I can just come in and pull this up just like that. So why am I doing it as an insert brush? Why am I doing it as an insert brush instead of just sculpting it in? Because I want to use poly paint to separate this as material ID. Right? So like just like that trick we used in the beginning, because this is a separate subtool, guess what? I can use that and apply a different poly paint to it. Yep, I keep them as a separate subtool for the time being, because I'm going to bake those into a material map, or material ID map. And another reason too is if I want to go in and get like really crazy, right, I can come in here in my layers, in my Stitch Valley. I can come in, watch this. I go, oh. Let's get rid of Lazy Mouse. I can actually add some of this variation in here that becomes really, really nice. Right, and then maybe kind of comes up here. Right, this is when I start to get like really nitpicky and like really awesome. What? No problem, guys. No prob. Right, so this is another reason why in this case I would use the stitches as separate subtools, so that I can go in and like add this really nice extra detail. Right, you see that from far away, you're like, oh, ooh, nice. Yep, 3D Character Workshop, yep. Check it out. How did you insert stitches? I was not around. Yep. You can get all kinds of crazy details in here. What's awesome though is that if you do these enough, you can get some really nice curvature maps baked from this, right? And then you get nice like wear and tear when you're doing all your texturing. So you said, how do I do the stitches? Oh, sorry. All right, so I'll show you for this part. So one of the big questions is, let me just cover this again real quick. When you have layers on a subtool, you can't use an insert mesh brush. So how do you get around that? For me, just really quickly, I just go to a different subtool, and then I can draw on this. Right? I don't have to draw on the subtool. I can actually draw on this part over here. So I have a stitches brush, which is basically just a insert mesh brush with roll on. Right? So I can come in here and go. Now it'll be really helpful to remember how big those stitches were, because that's really small. So just like how we did with the Stitch Valley, I really want to make sure that I remember what the draw size was. I don't remember, so that was a mistake on mine. I think it was about here. Let's do a little test. Nope. Too big. Too small. Let's try 45. It's close. Maybe it was 50, but yep, dupe and delete layers works too. Yep. So let's try that. Let's do a dupe and delete. So let's grab this guy. So what they're saying is you can duplicate this guy. Go down to my new one, right? Doesn't have anything. Let's turn off the other one. So for layers, then we'll just bake all the layers. And then now I can do it on this one. So actually maybe a little bit easier. Yeah, actually maybe a little bit easier to do that one that way. Because then it doesn't like do weird things where it kind of like goes into it. So let's do this. So probably what I would do is, oops, hold down Alt to create a new one. Oof. Alt click to get rid of the curve, and then I can just do another one here. Alt click, and then I can do another one here. So the reason why I'm not doing this one is because I want to just create a separate piece there so that it's not. Right, I could do that, and then I could just move those into place. Alt click, alt click, alt click, oof. Alt click. Alright, so I want to make sure, so 45, that's where I'm at, right? So then maybe I'll just go to the move tool, and I'll actually, so I'm holding down Alt, which is going to pull out or push in. So I'm just holding Alt, pulling out, and just make sure that those are on the top there. Grab this guy. Alright, so the question then becomes, so if I use the auto masking from the transpose tool, I could just click. So if I hold Control and click on one of the subtools, one of the pieces in the subtool, it'll mask everything else, right? So then I can just switch my mask, switch my mask, right? And then I can just do it from here like this. I could pull these guys into place. Like that. I'm going to leave them probably close to what this is. I don't really care too much if they're going in some in these areas. I'd rather do that than them floating on top like some of these are. Because then I can go and just sculpt around them. So maybe I'll just actually pull it back in just a little bit like that. Alright, and then I can go through and adjust how need be. Now the important thing is that I should have made sure first, but I really want to make sure that this base piece is all one polygroup, because then I can just hide that, and then I have all of my pieces, and then I can split that off. Okay, so let's go back and do those other little pieces real quick. Let's say 45. Go back here. Okay, good. Alt click. Okay, good. Alt click. Alt click. Alt click. So it gets a little bit weird when you go in here. So I think what I would do is just use my move tool right away and then just move these into place while everything else is masked. There's probably a way you can change your curve while you're using this, but I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to spend the time doing it at this point. So I just brute force it. Alright, make sure that I'm on 45. Everybody still with me? We're still doing okay? Use lazy mouse for the stitches? Not really, because the curve will have its own lazy mouse style setting. Do it, anatomy. Telling you, man. If you spend extra time on anatomy, it will not go to waste. If you don't spend enough time on anatomy, it will show. It will definitely show. So, here's in abnormal terminations in ZBrush. It keeps happening to me. I can't figure out why, as it seems to be something different that causes it. Ooh, yeah, it could be a lot of different things, man. Yeah, anatomy, man. Okay, so now this. Yeah. Oh, let's do this little piece here. Ooh, I love monster clay. Oh, I love monster clay. Man, there's just not enough time. Not enough time, man. Not enough time. I miss traditional sculpting so much. And you know what? I would I suggest this to a lot of people too. Is if you are getting into digital sculpting and have never touched clay, I highly, highly recommend it. It really gives you a whole new outlook on sculpting in 3 dimensions. Really helps to keep your head around like actual 3D form. So I highly, highly recommend doing traditional sculpture. So I'm using Move Topological, so I can start actually just getting a couple of these pieces into place. Let's get rid of that line. Go back here. Okay. Getting somewhere. There are mandatory tools for clay? No. It's really up to you. There are definitely some good ones to have, but I don't think they would be mandatory. Let's move a couple of these guys into place. Another thing I try to do too is, because this is more organic, I want to go in and change these stitches up a little bit, just so they're not so mechanical. Right, maybe change up the length a little bit, maybe change up the depth. Alright, now this guy I'm just going to bring out here like this, because I don't want him. Now there's another guy inside there, which, actually before I do that, so how do you get, let's say that other stitch is inside there. How do I get rid of that guy? Question. We can hide this guy, like that. We can hide these guys, we can hide these guys. There we go. I want to get rid of both of those. So what I can do is I can just mask those guys, do group masked, and then switch my mask. Watch this. I go to subtool, split masked points. Pardon was hidden. Okay, so split masked. There we go. Now they're off on their own. I could just delete this subtool. Just delete. Cool. It's less easy to mask on traditional sculpting. This is very, very true, man. Very, very true. Okay, so I'm gonna push this guy back in just a little bit here. Okay, so you start to get the idea here. Alright, let's do this piece and this piece, and then... Uh-oh, I deleted that other part. Son of a bee. Son of a bee. We'll just do it again. And we'll get rid of that. That's fine. He can't control drag in real life. In IRL. Alright, so let's finish these guys up. Okay. Alt click. Let's use move all. Then we'll just kind of move this in like this. Stretch that down. I don't mind making these different sizes by stretching them like this, because it just lends itself to the organic side a little bit more. Okay. Good. clear the mask. Let's go back to stitches, put this back to 45. And let's just do this guy again. Okay. Ooh, it's close, look at that. Yes, it adds tons to the final. Absolutely. No, this is not Blender. Okay, take that. We'll just kind of throw this there, and then look at this. We could just move these guys kind of like back into this sculpted position. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Okay, push that in a little bit. Pull this. This is Photoshop. Okay. And then let's go back to my stitch brush. Put this back in 45. What's up, Caliber? How you doing, man? Sup. Okay, I think that's the last one, right? Okay, cool. So we'll do that. And then we'll go kind of move this guy up into place. Maybe squish these down just a little bit. Yeah, this has got to come out just a touch. Like that. Okay. It's MS Paint. That's funny. Okay. Sorry, let's clear the mask. Use the transpose tool to mask there. We'll change the mask. And then let's move these down. Alright, how do I move those separately? Good question. Good question. Good question. This new version of DOS. So because these are all different polygroups, right? I could just mask the same way I masked everything else, right? So if I just do alt click on this guy, click that guy, right? And then go back to edit, right? And then I have just this guy, and then go back and use my regular move tool. Boom, bada boom, 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 bada boom, boom, boom. Right? Control click. Back to edit. Now I use the move. Right? So that's the idea here. So that was one of the reasons why I did them in separate pieces, is because I wanted them in separate polygroups. Alright, and then maybe I can go down and use the move topological. See if I can get this just rotated around, just nudged a little bit like this. You start getting that, right? So go back, alt click, go back to edit, and then use move topological. Look at that! Look at that! Oh, snaps. This is going to be a little bit more difficult, but you get the idea. Alright, so let's... So I want to get rid of these ones. We'll do the same thing, right? So we're going to mask everything else except that. Flip the mask, and then do split mask points. Done. Delete. Done, done, done. Okay, so then go back to control click, and then we'll use the rig of the move because I want to move all of them. Get them moving over here a little bit. Okay, and then we'll use control click, back to edit, kind of move these guys, let's squish these guys up a little bit here. So, it's taken a little bit of time at this point, but once you get into a groove and start doing this, it's well worth it. The payoff is awesome. So let's do this. Let's mask all of this. And then we're just going to use the transpose tool and then just rotate this guy. What? What? Oh, I see what you did, you devious bastard. Ah, yeah. That's right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Clear the mask. Alright, so we started doing that. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, yeah. Alright. And then we continue the cleanup. Oh, look. Here's that other one. I split it off. That's why. It's this one. Not using that one anymore. Times it. 756. Okay, we're doing alright. Couple more minutes. So this one I don't need anymore, so let's go ahead and delete that guy. And then this dude is the original guy that I used. So I'm actually going to keep him. He's here. I'm just going to throw him up to the top by doing shift click that'll throw that all the way up to the top. Actually, you know what? I want him more towards the bottom, actually. So shift click and throw him all the way to the bottom, and then it'll just go up this way. Yeah. Yeah. Just do a little house cleaning. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this guy. Let's hide this dude. And then let's hide these guys. And then we'll do split hidden for now. Turn that off, turn this guy back on. That's the one that I want. It's totally fine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this guy I'm going to delete. That's the other one. Alright, now this one, I'm done with the base shape, but I can always go back and do it if I need to. So what I'm going to do is let's just do that. We'll hide that. Let's delete hidden. And then this guy we'll go ahead and merge down. That's fine. Alright, and then I've got all those pieces. Let's turn this dude back on, and we're rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling. Okay, we'll go back to this dude. I'm going to mask that guy off. You know what? I think I could just do delete mask. Delete? Is there delete? Can I do delete? Geometry. Subtool, merge, project. Now let's just do split mask. That's fine. And we'll just do this. Won't do delete. Okay. Boom. Alright, so then we'll go through on this dude. go back to my layers, stitch valleys. I'm going to go hit record on that, and then I'm going to come in. I'm just going to do a little bit of sculpting like this. Just to kind of break up some of these edges here. And I would probably spend some time doing this. Maybe not a ton, but enough to kind of just come in and break up some of these edges. But this is like getting into super minute detail. But that's what really sells realistic stuff, is all the really minute details. Hey yo, it's 8 o'clock. Do you know where your ZBrush stylus is? You guys remember those old commercials? It's 9 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Yeah. That's how old I am. And then, maybe I wouldn't do it for all of them. Maybe I would just do it for certain areas, right? Maybe where things are, like, able to be doing that, So actually what I may do is store morph target. And then go back and do the... Uh-oh. Did I lose that? Should have lost it. I'll just go back and do that later. So maybe store morph target, right? And you can come in and just do a lot of this if you want. Alright. Let's come in, maybe do some integration. Maybe we can actually start pulling some of this off as well too. Right, maybe this is like pulling through here. Something like that. So it's those kind of details that really make things pop. You don't see it from so it's not so here's the thing, right? So you're like, well, am I going to see that? The question isn't are you going to see that, really. It's more of like does your mind's eye, right? So it's about selling the fact that it's highly realistic. So even though when you look at this you may say, oh, the shape, right? But your subconscious is also looking at other things that you may not be looking at, and those things help sell what you're trying to make, right? So are you really going to pay attention to all this really small little detail? No, definitely not. But your subconscious will, right? So it's like when you look at like a face model, right? You look at it and you're like, oh, that has all the right shapes. Something's off, right? It doesn't quite feel right, right? These little details are the things that help your subconscious sell that it is realistic, right? Also, these little details, when you create your your curvature map and all of your utility maps for when you're texturing, are super important because it will help you develop better textures that are more believable as well. Does that make sense? So yes, I may lose a lot of these details, but I would rather have them in to help sell what this is, and then possibly lose them than not have them at all. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a little bit more that it sells than not having enough, right? It's really about playing with your subconscious, right? Because like, especially if you look at this, right, you may not ever even see that, right? If you see the hand from this far, but in certain lighting scenarios, right, your subconscious is going to pick that up and say, "Oh, look, it's used leather, right? It's not brand new. Oh, those stitches like are really part of what that is, and it helps sell the realism." So those are the types of things I try to keep in mind when I'm, when I'm deciding whether to go into like super crazy detail or not, right? And from the get go, I decided what type of game this is going to be. But obviously, that would be from whoever's making the game. But this is going to be for a first-person shooter, so yeah, you may really have a lot of detail of this when you're looking at the gun. So I'm adding as much as I can to the high res so that it helps with that. Does that make sense? I didn't mean to go off on you at all. It was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, you know what? This is why it's important to do those types of things, right? Right? And also, like, it helps depending on, you got to think about what type of material this is, right? If this is like super thick material, it wouldn't do like this minor stuff, right? So what I'm thinking about is what type of material this is and what it's doing, right? So now that I'm looking at this and all this little stuff, what it seems like this material is doing is that it's got like a really solid core, but then over that it has like a thin layer of like a material over it, which is probably not what I want to do, right? Because it seems like the material is being stitched, but then, or the core is being stitched down, but the material on top of it looks like it's actually folding up. So because this is leather, it probably won't do that, right? So I always want to keep that in mind. So maybe I should pull back some of this, right? Maybe not so crazy, right? Always thinking about what your material is doing. So maybe it's better if I push these in instead, right? And then instead of making like all these small little ones, maybe just a big one, because that's more of how leather would react, right? So materials aren't just in how the surface that you put on them. It's about how the folds and everything reacts when you're making it, or like when you're doing some kind of deformation to it, right? So if I did something more like this, that looks more like what leather would do, right? Is having larger ones. So you always want to think about how your material is and what material it is and how it would react to the pressures that you're putting onto it. Right? That feels more leather than this does. Right? Boom. Maybe I just want to smooth some of that out. Right? And then maybe I want to do just a couple of bigger pushes, right? Thinking about how thick that material is and how much force these stitches are going in, you know? Right? That feels way more like... Right? Are they tight stitches? Are they loose stitches? right? But then you don't want to make you want to make sure that you don't have them all looking the same, right? So you want to vary them up a lot. So maybe this one actually comes out more. Maybe this one actually comes down and like connects with this, right? So you want to make sure that things are varied up quite a lot, right? I'm starting to feel much better. Okay, guys, it is 8:09. I gotta go get my daughter up, and we will continue. Yes, this is. I realize this project is taking a while to do, but I think there's a lot of room for teaching and showing examples and really like doing a high res realistic piece to its best. Give it time. Give it time. There's a lot of stuff that you can teach and stuff. So, yeah, I think that's about it for me, guys. It is time. So I will be back in 2 weeks to pick up where we left off, and we'll keep going with this super high res realistic stuff. Thank you very much, guys, for coming by. Again, if you guys are thinking about purchasing ZBrush, there is a free trial button down over there, I think, somewhere down there, if you want to try it out. There is amazing tutorials on zclassroom.com, so go check those out. Amazing tutorials. You can also find good stuff on Pixelogic's YouTube channel. And be sure to check out the other ZBrush streamers here on Pixelogic's page. Don't forget to follow Pixelogic here. Feel free to follow me as well. And let's see I don't know. I think who's coming up next. I don't know who's coming up next. Let me see. Pfft, Ashley Adams. Ashley, you're on board. You're up. So Ashley's going to be on tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time. She does really awesome characters and creatures. So definitely stick around for her stream. She does awesome stuff. But we gotta call it. So, hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys learned a couple of things. Most of all, I hope you were inspired to go make your own really cool stuff. So go make some cool stuff. I'm watching you. All right, guys. Have a great one. See you guys very soon. Peace.